Do you ever feel like English has just too many ways to say the same thing? Maybe you've wondered why English has have to, must, need to, and I'm supposed to, when they all seem to mean something like, I should do this, like, I have to work late, I must finish this, I need to call her, I'm supposed to send the email. All of those sound similar, but native speakers use them in different situations, and each one has a slightly different feeling. If you always use just one of them, your English can sound a little stiff, or that textbook English feeling can creep in. So today, let's break these down and look at how native speakers really use them in everyday conversation.
Welcome to another Happy English podcast coming to you from New York City. And here's your English teacher, Michael.
All right, thank you, John, and thanks, everyone. It's Michael here from Happy English, and I help people speak English better. And this is Happy English Podcast, episode 968, talking about obligation in English. Have to, must, need to, and supposed to. Today, we'll look at 4 very common ways to talk about obligations, rules, and expectations. And you'll hear how each one sounds a little different, even though they're all connected to the topic of things we should do. Let's start with have to. Have to is probably the most common and the most neutral. We use it for rules, responsibilities, and things that are necessary, especially when the reason comes from outside us. For example, I have to work tomorrow. That's not a personal opinion, it's just a fact. Or, I have to pay my rent by Friday. George works in a factory, so he has to wear a helmet at work. Native speakers use have to all the time in daily conversations. And notice this, even though have to looks like a present tense verb, we use it in all tenses, like, I had to leave early, or I have to call her later. Next, let's talk about must. Must is stronger than have to, but it's also used less often in conversation. When we use must, it usually sounds very strong, very serious, or very formal, like, you must wear a seatbelt, or you must show your ID. You'll see must a lot when there's a rule or a sign and in announcements or written instructions. In everyday conversation, native speakers don't use must very much, unless they want to sound dramatic, serious, or very clear. Sometimes must comes from the speaker's personal feeling like, I must talk to her today. That sounds emotional, like it's very important. But in casual, daily talk, we usually prefer have to instead of must, as in, I have to talk to her today. By the way, sometimes we use must to make suggestions, like a new restaurant, a new movie, and so on. Someone may say, oh, you must go see that new movie with Jack Black. It's hilarious. Or, you must try that new Mexican restaurant in town. The food is amazing. Notice that in both of those examples, I stressed the word must. And using must this way does have a formal or sophisticated sound to it. That's why, when making suggestions, we also prefer have to instead of must. As in, you have to go see that new movie. It's hilarious. Let's get back to talking about obligation with need to. Need to is softer than must, and it focuses on importance, not rules. When you say need to, you're often talking about something that you feel is important, helpful, and even logical to do, like, I need to get more sleep. This isn't something the doctor told me. I feel it's necessary. Here are some other examples. We need to leave early if we want to catch the train. Or, you need to back up your computer. Need to sounds practical and reasonable. And need to doesn't sound like an order. It sounds like good advice. And just like have to, need to is very common in natural conversation. And finally, let's talk about be supposed to. This one is very important and very useful for talking about obligation. Be supposed to is not about rules or personal needs. It's about expectations. Be supposed to means this is what other people expect, or this is the plan, even if it doesn't happen. Like, I'm supposed to meet Jenny at 6:30 tonight, or we're supposed to finish our homework by tomorrow, or I'm still waiting to hear from Jack. He's supposed to call me back. And here's something interesting. We often use be supposed to when something doesn't happen, like he was supposed to call, but he didn't. Or the train was supposed to arrive at 9, but it's late again. So, be supposed to is very common when we're talking about plans, expectations, and when we're making mild complaints based on those plans and expectations. So, let's put this all together. We use have to when we talk about rules and real-life possibilities. You have to wear a seatbelt when you drive. We use must when there are strong rules and laws. The sign says you must have a permit to go fishing in this lake. We use need to when we talk about importance and good judgment, like, I need to start exercising. And finally, we use be supposed to when there are expectations and plans. You're supposed to study English every day in order to keep improving. That's why native speakers don't use just one word to talk about obligations. We choose based on the situation, not just the grammar. Let me ask you something before we wrap up. What's one thing you have to do this week? What's something you need to do soon? And is there anything you were supposed to do, but you didn't? Try answering those out loud. That's how you build real fluency. And remember, the best way to remember English like this, and any other word or phrase in English, is to take that word or phrase, write it in a sentence that's true for you or true in your world, and then memorize your sentences. That's how you build fluency. I suppose you were waiting for me to say that. Hey, thanks for listening. And remember, learning another language is not easy, but it's not impossible. And I'm here to help you on your journey.
This podcast was brought to you by Happy English. Please visit myhappyenglish.com. Show your support for Happy English by leaving us a review. Get English, get happy, Happy English.